In a remarkable turnaround, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has scrapped his controversial plan to sell off stakes in the World Cup to private investment. In a statement, he said, having listened carefully to all the views, it has become clear that the project has created divisions of a nature that, regardless of the level of support, are no longer in the interest of the objective set out in the first place. Our purpose has always been, and will always be, to unite and improve. As a result, he says this proposal will not proceed. Well, it follows a chorus of condemnation from international football bodies, most recently the Asian Football Confederation and CONCACAF, which oversees North and Central American and Caribbean football. Kicking off the storm of criticism on Thursday was Uefa, European football's governing body. It threatened to boycott the 2030 Men's World Cup if Gianni Infantino went ahead with his private investment plans. New York Post reporter James Franey was the first journalist to break the story.
No one would dispute that the game of soccer, or football as you call it on the BBC, is all about making money. We know that from the Premier League. We know that from the UEFA Champions League. But the way that FIFA went about it is what basically killed this deal dead on arrival. The clubs, the federations, the fans, it was just the global outcry against Infantino's plan, with, may I say, his own number two saying he wasn't even aware of it. It just left him really with no choice just to fold. I think the question now is what this means for Infantino's leadership of FIFA. Can he go on, or will there be some kind of leadership challenge at the next presidential election?
I'll speak to football journalist Henry Winters. I want to go back to obviously the future of Infantino in a moment, but initially, what are your thoughts about the way this has all played out?
Well, relief that Infantino has finally seen sense and listened to, as you say, the chorus of disapproval from around the world. It's a ridiculous situation that he's dragged football into, basically to the brink of civil war. So it's interesting people are calling this FIFA's plan. It's not FIFA's plan. It's very much Infantino's plan. So, yeah, I mean, absolute relief that football has stepped back from the precipice, because this was so damaging after what was actually a pretty good World Cup.
When you say step back from the precipice, why do you say that?
Well, because UEFA initially, as you said, on Thursday had threatened to boycott the World Cup, and not simply the Men's World Cup in 2030. There's a Women's Under-20 tournament coming up. There's obviously the Women's World Cup next year in Brazil. And you have to think of all the athletes, all the players, all the coaches who are preparing excitedly for that, for what could well be the peak of their careers. And that was all put at risk by one individual, not one organisation, one individual, and that is Infantino.
And so what do you think his future is? Can he survive this level of criticism and the kind of the reaction that's happened around it?
Well, he's quite a sly fox. So you imagine that over the next few days, he will announce that he is digging selflessly into FIFA's reserves, their cash reserves, and actually passing on some of this money for development throughout the world, which is needed. No one disputes that. There are a lot of disadvantaged countries which could do with extra finance for infrastructure, coaching, elements like that. No one disputes that. But FIFA does actually have the money, particularly on the back of a very profitable World Cup. And then you would imagine what he will also do is dangle a huge carrot in the form of a 64-team World Cup in 2030. Now, only about 80 of the 211 countries have actually competed in a men's World Cup. So, the vast majority, it's going to be very tempting. So that then moves on to the March election, and he will hope to gain another 4 years on the back of those two elements. Personally, I would rather see FIFA act decisively now, remove him and get a caretaker in.
And just to go back to the plan itself, I mean, presumably there would have been some countries who stood to benefit. Do you think they'll get some kind of money instead anyway?
Yes, because he can dig into FIFA's reserves. I mean, FIFA is a not-for-profit organisation. They've got money in the accounts, particularly on the back of a very lucrative World Cup. They could dispense that anyway. So absolutely. And even though, as you rightly say, there was an element of unanimity in the pronouncements from certainly three of the confederations, individually, when it comes to the vote and they've got the possibility of this cash, they might not necessarily vote confederation-wide.
And you suggested that Gianni Infantino might have ways of trying to preserve his position, but you've had people, including the UK Prime Minister, saying openly he's the wrong man to lead FIFA. Do you think he'll manage to sustain that pressure?
With respect to the outside noise and the outside pressure, what is really damaging for him is an almost sort of Shakespearean scenario with people close to him, as you say, his number two, and people very close to him, very respected within FIFA, saying we have been deceived, this is wrong, protocol, process, governance has not been followed. That is the real danger to him if people on the inside turn on him.
Henry Winter, really appreciate your analysis this morning. Thank you very much for joining us.